Hello and welcome to today's video. Many individuals and many companies are looking to venture into new industries and new markets. You may be an individual who is looking to buy a franchisee in an industry that you have never worked in. Or you may be a professional working in a company that is trying to expand into new geographical market or a new industry altogether. And you have been asked to give your inputs into a strategy that will help the company succeed. How do you go about doing that? Is there a way to figure out what are the chances of success for an individual or company venturing into a new industry? Is there a way to prepare a strategy before it is too late in the game? The answer is yes, my friend. And management consultants use this tool called SWOT. It stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This is the tool that the consultants use to build a strategy and advise senior management about how to enter a new industry. You can use this tool to build a strategy for a company to exploit a new market and new opportunities in a new geographical area. But at the same time, you can use this tool to figure out which career path would be best, which industry would be right for you. So in this video, I'm going to teach you what SWOT tool is and how to use this tool using practical examples. Please do watch this video till the end. So as I said earlier, SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We'll look at threats and then opportunities, and then we're going to discuss strengths and weaknesses. Threats are trends and changes, including technological changes in the industry that threaten your margins, that put pressure on your revenue or profit margins. So for example, if you are into content creation industry or you are a content creator, and with AI coming around and being able to create content in few seconds, AI is a threat to content creation industry and content creators, individuals. Opportunities, they are exact opposite of threats. These are trends and changes that allow a company or an individual to make more money, grow their market share or profit margins. Data scientists or companies with a good team of data scientists, they have an opportunity to command higher salaries or command more revenue with AI becoming hot. So AI is an opportunity for data scientists and AI is a threat for content creators. Talking about strengths, the attributes, the assets, the technologies within an organization that allow an organization or an individual to exploit the opportunities available in the industry are strengths. So for example, if you are an individual with a data science background, your degree or your background in data science is an asset, is a strength that allows you to command higher salary, higher revenue as AI is becoming an opportunity in the industry. On the other hand, if you are missing the capabilities, if you're missing the processes and technologies that allow you to make more money with opportunities, then the absence of those capabilities and technologies is a weakness. Similar example for content creators, having just background in content creation probably is not going to be enough in the coming days. So not having any additional educational background or experience that will allow them to command better salaries in AI environment is definitely a weakness that they need to overcome in future. So opportunities and threats, these are factors, changes, happenings that are going on in the industry outside and beyond the control of an organization. Whereas strengths and weaknesses are factors, technologies, assets that are within the control of the organization. So in our example earlier, AI is a trend that is outside. It could be seen as an opportunity or a threat by different individuals in different industries. But it's something outside the control of an individual or a company. Whereas gaining a data science degree or hiring more data scientists or developing a technology in AI using data science is an asset or a strength of an individual or an organization that is within the control of an individual or an organization. The other key thing to remember is that when we talk about strengths and weaknesses, we want to look at only those factors that have a direct impact on the opportunities and threats. And that's why when we do this analysis, we always look at opportunities and threats first before we talk about strengths and weaknesses. So only those strengths and weaknesses that are going to have an impact on opportunities and threats are to be considered. As an example, if a programmer says that, oh, AI is becoming hot and I'm a Java programmer or a C programmer, then Java programming and C programming, which has no impact on AI, at least not directly, is neither a strength or a weakness. Whereas if the same programmer says, I have learned Python and now I can do some programming for AI, then that suddenly becomes a strength. With AI becoming hot and a content creator who has no background in data science says, oh, I can sing really well, as an example, which has no impact on AI becoming hot as a threat, is neither a strength or a weakness. Today, I'm going to use two examples to explain what SWOT is and how we can use SWOT to our advantage. If you are an individual who is trying to make a career decision, SWOT can be used very effectively. And I have an example from my personal experience. So I'm going to share that as an example number one. Example number two is when you're trying to analyze an industry and a company, and if you want to formulate a strategy using SWOT tool, then that example would help you understand how that can be done. So let's delve into example number one. And this is an example from my own life. When I was in the US working for an oil and gas company, in the oil and gas company, there was a sharp downtrend in the oil prices. As a result, the whole industry was laying off people. My company was also restructuring, and my position at that time was eliminated. So that created an immediate threat for me. Also, the fact that the whole industry was doing the same thing, laying off people, that was a threat industry-wide. In terms of opportunities, there were few jobs that were open within the company. They were very few, but there were. And then outside the company, in other industries like IT industry, which were not impacted by oil price, they were still hiring. So those are the opportunities. Strengths: I had an engineering degree at a time and a master's in business, and I had some years of experience. I had experience in procurement and contracting as well as in analytics, and I also had IT background and some leadership experience. So with all that background, I was in a very good shape to apply to many jobs. But at the same time, if you look at the weaknesses, the experience and the skill set I had gained in oil and gas was not directly transferable to other industries like IT. And the biggest weakness that was about me at the time was that I didn't have a green card or a US citizenship. I was on an L1 visa. It was a company to company visa that doesn't allow you to apply for any other company but the company that you sponsored your visa. That constrained me from applying outside the company. So that was the biggest weakness. Now, this was a weakness that didn't allow me to apply outside the company, but at the time I didn't realize that this was also a factor that was going to come in play when the management would decide who to give the few jobs that were available within the company to when selecting the applicants. and management obviously prioritized people who had green card or citizenship over the people who were on visa when giving jobs, US jobs to the people. And I missed out on that detail, and that was very disadvantageous for me. So the key is basically to think of opportunities and uh, threats first, and then try to think of what strengths and weaknesses you can align with those. And this is really key. If you miss out on any of those, then it can result in a bad strategy for you. In second example, I'm going to demonstrate how you can use SWOT tool to analyze threats and opportunities in an industry. Once you have analyzed threats and opportunities, then you can go to step number 2 and analyze strengths and weaknesses of a particular company in the backdrop of the threats and opportunities that you have already figured out in the industry. Then in step number 3, I will tell you how you can go from there to develop a strategy to exploit opportunities and manage threats in the industry. So let's delve into the first step, which is to analyze the threats in the industry. For this, we are going to use a famous tool called Porter 5 Forces. So when we look at Porter 5 Forces, there are 5 components to it, which are depicted in these 5 boxes that you see here. The box number 1 is threat of new entrants. It is basically what kind of barriers are there in the industry for the new entrants to enter into the market, into the industry. If the barriers are low, the threat is high, and vice versa. The next one is threat of substitute, this top right corner. In threat of substitute, it's basically looking at what other options does your customer have. If they don't want to take your product, then what other substitute they can go for, they can opt for. Third one is bottom right corner, is threat of suppliers. This is the threat of suppliers to the industry. The suppliers, if they have a good bargaining power, if they are large entities, then you will have a high threat. If you have suppliers which are from fragmented industry, then they will have low threat. And similarly, on the flip side, how about the customers of the industry? Are they big entities? If they are big and they have a lot of negotiating power, then it would be a high or medium threat. And if they are individual customers, then it would be a low threat. And in the center, you have this box, which is for threat of competition or rivalry from the competitors. If you have a lot of competitors, very powerful competitors, obviously the threat would be high, otherwise it would be low. These 5 segments together make Porter 5 Forces model. Let's look at Porter 5 Forces and try to understand it better by using a particular example. This particular example is for industry called contingent workforce provider industry. What is a contingent workforce? Contingent workforce is the set of contractors, workers that a company like Amazon or Google would hire to supplement their employee workforce. Usually such contingent workforce workers are hired on a project of a limited scope and limited duration for a limited time, for 6 months or 1 year, and then they are let go. And they are different from employees. And the industry that provides such workers is called contingent workforce industry. So in this industry, if you look at the threat of new entrants and threat of competition is quite high, because the capital required to start a new business is very minimal. So there are a lot of players in the industry, and new players are coming in the industry every week, if not every day. Market share is very thin pitch, even with the top players. Then threat of substitute is coming from platforms, gig platforms like Upwork.com or Top Talent, which provide talents on demand, and companies, the clients, they do have this option to go with these platforms But even in this, this is not a great substitute, because somebody will have to go through the profiles of the candidates and do all the process of vetting which a service provider, contingent workforce provider will do for you. So this is not the best substitute. So that keeps the threat little low or up to medium. And then the threat of suppliers is, in this industry, the suppliers are basically these technology providers and resume providers like LinkedIn, Naukri.com, and there is no interest in these platforms to forward integrate and provide candidates directly to companies like Facebook and Google. The threat of suppliers is low. Threat of customers, in this case, the customers, as you mentioned, are like Google's and Microsoft's and Amazon's of the world, which are really large. Even though they are not trying to backward integrate, but they have significant negotiation power. As a result, they can cause some threat. They are not willing to negotiate pricing, so that puts pressure on the margins for the contingent workforce provider industry. Now let's look at the opportunities in contingent workforce provider industry. I've listed out 5 opportunities here. First one is growth is 3% in the industry year on year. Then as per one particular website, the US contingent workforce as a share of the total workforce is going to grow from 40% to 50% by year 2050. The shortages of candidates is again approaching the same levels as they were in before COVID. 5% in US and 7% in European Union area. The next one is about automation, different pieces of softwares like VMS, vendor managed services, and ERP, enterprise resource planning software, and ATS, applicant tracking system. Different various pieces of software, they are maturing in the industry, and these contingent workforce provider companies have an opportunity to use different pieces of the software and create a seamless workflow, thereby exploiting efficiencies and gaining higher margins if they can get the technology right. And then another opportunity is coming from the fact of that AI is coming around. Since this is a very human intensive process to vet the candidate, source the candidate, vet the candidate, and interview the candidates, AI can help a lot in automating many steps that we don't see being automated in near future, but with the help of AI, it looks very feasible that many steps can be automated. These are the opportunities. Let me give you some pointers about how to develop a list of opportunities for an industry. Always start with the economy in general and look at how the economy of the region or globe is doing, and then go from economy, from a large scale economy to specific industry, and look at the industry, how the specific industry is doing. And then from within industry, who are the competitors, what are the competitors doing, that will help you understand. Then look at the different developments like technology developments that are going to impact the industry. So look both in short term and long term, what is on the horizon that can impact the industry. Look for trends, what kind of trend is happening that is going to influence the industry, and gather data. Once you have all this, and list out the opportunities, but don't forget to cite your sources so that you can always go back to those sources and read more about it. Or if somebody else has any questions or queries, they can look into the sources. So always do that. Let's look at how to come up with strengths and weaknesses for a particular company in this industry. So in this example, I'm not going to share the name of the company, but I am going to call this company XYZ. And for this company XYZ, I'm going to demonstrate what kind of questions you can ask once you have done your analysis of threats and opportunities. What kind of queries you can ask to come up with a set of strengths and weaknesses. As you can see, there are 5 bullet points here. So in each of these bullet points, it starts with either an opportunity or a threat. So for example, in bullet point number 1, opportunity for automation using new technology. That's one of the opportunities we identified. So the question to ask a leader in this company would be, what degree of end-to-end automation does company XYZ have for serving its customers? So if their response is not much automation, then that's a weakness. If they say they have a high degree of automation, then that technology and the organization around that technology becomes a strength. Another opportunity we saw was similarly opportunity for automation by integrating with different ATS and VMSs. How many ATS does XYZ system integrates with, right? Does it integrate with Naukri.com, LinkedIn, and other providers, or it does not? If it integrates very well, then obviously they will have high degree of automation and it will become a strength. Otherwise, it's a weakness. Another threat we looked at was threat of competitors and threat of new entrants, both of which were high. And in case of XYZ, they have to ask what the kind of USP they have that differentiates XYZ from rest of the competitors and new entrants. What is the one unique thing or two unique things that they can tell their customers that is unique about them? Then threat of substitute from gig platforms like Upwork. Does XYZ have capabilities to position itself as a slick technology provider? These gig platforms, they have interfaces which are really very nice, very slick, and anyone who uses these platforms have a good experience. So does XYZ provide a similar experience to its customers? Then threat of customer using technology to source contingent workforce themselves, that is also there. Customers who want to do it themselves using the technology, they will be inclined to do so unless you have a way for integrating your technology with your customers' organization. These are the points that you need to ask. You need to pose these questions to the company. If you are not in the company, like in my case, I was going to interview with this company, so I didn't have the insights into the answers or responses to these questions. So I left it at these questions to determine strengths and weaknesses. But once you have the responses, from there you can go actually to build a strategy. After you have analyzed threats and opportunities as step 1, and then in step 2 you have posed the right questions to figure out the strengths and weaknesses of the organization. From there you can actually easily formulate a strategy. So strategy formulation now becomes easy, because now you can say, okay, you need to exploit so and so opportunity based on the strengths you have or the technologies that you have already developed or developing. You can go after these kind of opportunities, or you can say, okay, these are the assets or talents that you have in the organization that can help you mitigate these threats. These are the steps you can take, additional steps you can take to mitigate some of these threats. So it's very easy from there on. So in this example, I proposed a strategy. Again, this was before I joined the company, and I made some assumptions about the strengths and weaknesses of the company. So I assumed that there is a scope of automation. Even if the company was very well automated, there is always a scope to automate more. So I said that automation is going to help reduce inefficiencies in the company, and it can help deliver faster service and better quality candidates. Then second strategy I proposed was prioritization. So prioritization to create programs that will enable us to focus on specific customers and vendors. This was a shot in the dark. From my experience, many companies, they don't prioritize right. they tend to put an equal value to all the customers or equal value to all the vendors. Very few rare companies go about doing prioritization right. So again, that's a strategy that any company, especially in this industry, it is very important to get it right, because the threat of customers, if you have large strategic customers, you do want to focus on them, and give them more weightage as compared to other smaller customers. And lastly, the strategy for innovation. Innovating new assets and new capabilities, new technologies can always help a company to differentiate itself. Again, it was a very generalized strategy, but given that there was an opportunity in terms of AI, and then there was a large threat from rivalries, the competitors and the new entrants, innovation was a no-brainer as a strategy to develop a USP to differentiate the company from rest of the players in the industry. So that's how you come up with a strategy after you have developed SWOT. So let's summarize what we learned today. We learned about the tool called SWOT, which stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We learned that we always start with the threats of an industry. Then we go to opportunities. Once we have figured out the threats and opportunities, then we look at the company's strengths and weaknesses. And once we have done that, then we go to step number 3 to figure out the strategy that will help us exploit the opportunities that we have identified or mitigate the threats in the industry. We also looked at how one can use the tool SWOT for making decisions in her own career. A SWOT is a tool that is usually used by management strategy consultants to formulate strategies. Now you also are equipped with this tool. So all the best to you in using this tool. Please do comment if you have any questions or if you have a experience using this tool, and don't forget to like and subscribe the video. Jai Hind.